This one for Matt Kenseth.
Stand in front of you, back it down on the top. One inside, Matt, inside. Clear down there.
Wow.
Keep going, they're going to come into you.
That was incredible.
Wow.
I know he got involved in it, but he was doing a great job.
See, right there, the initial contact. Boy, Elliott Sadler really fortunate they didn't catch him more in the right rear. See, that Joe Nemechek just sneaked through there on the bottom side in that 87.
Eric McClure, 14. Look at that.
See Matt, the way he was driving that car through that whole thing, and then he had a car coming right at the end, looked like it's going to hit him, so he just spins it through the grass.
Yeah.
See him.
Wow. Hannah Long there. She had done such a great job. Had herself right there in the mix for this thing to get a good top 10 effort. Look, you can see cars go by Matt Kenseth to get involved in the accident as he slowed down.
And Dale Jr. snaking his way through the spinning cars also. So, our count 11 cars involved in the big wreck with 5 laps to go at Daytona down in turn number 1. Jamie?
Well, Travis Pastrana is certainly getting the full Daytona experience. We could hear it in his voice on the radio. So, Chad Norris, at this point on this restart, you're thinking points and championship, big picture. What do you do here? Do you tell him to be conservative, or does he go race for it?
Well, we definitely got to go race for it. We've kind of played defense a little bit all day, just trying to get him more laps, more experience as he goes, because he's kind of new at this drafting thing. So he's learned a lot today, and we're going to let the leash off, let him try to go get the best possible finish we can.
Wow, going to let the leash off of Travis Pastrana, Doc.
Let's find out what Jeremy Bullins is thinking about with his driver, Brad Keselowski. Pretty good scenario for you guys. 2 of the top 4 cars are Penske teammates. What do you think Brad, Kay, and Sam Hornish are going to do?
Well, I mean, I think the best thing we can do is try to get ourselves in a position to win. It's all going to depend on how this restart shakes out. It's going to be really hard to get in line with each other right away. So I think it's about creating some space to the guys behind us so that one of us can make a move on the guy that we're pushing and try to make something happen. And it'd be great to get one of these Fords in victory lane.
Ford hasn't won here since 2004, and they're excited to get this car and maybe Penske with a Ford to victory lane. Vince.
The leader is Regan Smith, and his crew chief is Greg Ives. Greg used to be the engineer for Jimmy Johnson, so you've been in tight spots before. Any difference between sitting in that seat as the engineer and sitting in this seat as the crew chief, your first race?
Well, obviously being with Jimmy, they put me in a situation where we won a lot, and that was credit to, Chad, Jimmy, and the whole 48 team at Hendrick Motorsports. But, yeah, I mean, the voices are a little bit calmer, over here until it comes time to make that final decision, whether to pit or not, and then you got a lot of voices in your head.
Real quick final decision, top, bottom, and who do you go with to the finish?
I'm going to leave that up to Regan. Obviously we got to the front because of the 22 pushing us, so I think they're working on something, and we'll find out.
Thanks, Greg. Dave?
Voice of experience from Ernie Cope. We were just talking about that big one that usually happens late in the race. I want to talk about that, but also your driver's wisdom in saving his motor today and keeping it cool. He saw that early on as an important point.
Yeah, he didn't, just not to miss the wrecks. He said they want to burn the motor down, so he just want to get himself in position here, and Nationwide Insurance is going to get their money's worth here because it's going to be a great finish.
And you'll be in front?
I hope so.
I think they can, they've done it before. I think they might have a good shot, Alan.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting, Dave, just from those interviews we heard, right? Brad Keselowski's crew chief's talking about how they could get together with Sam Hornish and maneuver things. But then the crew chief of Regan Smith says, well, we're going to draft with Brad Keselowski and find it, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
How that politics plays out.
Uh-huh. So a sprint to the finish coming up at Daytona after a crash triggered when Michael Annett tagged the side of Austin Dillon and Pop Richard Childress' Chevrolet, and an 11-car wreck ensued.
I think Austin Dillon may have exceeded the deductible on this one.
Back at Daytona under the red flag in the NASCAR Nationwide Series season opener. Our telecast today presented by Royal Purple. And we invite you to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. The big wreck just inside of 5 laps to go happened when there was contact in the pack between Michael Annett and Austin Dillon that wound up with an 11-car pileup over there between turns 1 and 2. Michael Annett, driver of that 43, is being transported to Halifax Medical Center just up the street for further evaluation. Is the update we get from NASCAR after this incident. That's Annett in the yellow 43.
Well, you could see that safer barrier, just how much it moved there as he had that head-on impact there.
And obviously, we'll follow the situation and pass along any further information we get on Michael as soon as possible. And we wish him nothing but the best. So there are those involved, a number of whom are having just outstanding days, and a couple of whom are hoping to be Nationwide Series champion at the end of the season and ending their season opener in a deficit where the championship is concerned. And I know people say, yeah, it's Daytona, it's not the championship, but as Ray Evernham pointed out a little while ago, there's no chase in this Nationwide Series, and points lost here at Daytona today can wind up to be the difference at Homestead in November. Red flag, NASCAR as it has become its policy, offering all the drivers water, especially on a hot day today. It's 87 degrees right now at the Daytona Beach Airport, right behind the racetrack. And our ESPN in-race reporter today, Tony Stewart, was back in the 20s on the restart that came with 14 to go, and by the red flag with 4 to go. DJ, he's one of the top 3.
Hey, Tony, Dale Jarrett, you there?
Together before this thing's over with. Yeah, man.
Well, it didn't take you very long to make your way up there to the front. You got a plan now that you're there?
Try to stay here. The hard parts, we're trying to figure out what the 22 and 12 who were teammates. Looks like they're going to be starting beside each other on the restart here. We're trying to figure out, kind of listening to their radios, what they're trying to plan with each other to get caught up with each other. So we're just kind of waiting to see what their plan is here before we finalize ours.
Hey, Tony, with the amount of laps we have left, and I know that you did a great job here of falling back to mainly take care of your engine today. This is going to be, you'll still be able just to push or get pushed for that long without making any issues for your engine or running it hot in this short amount of time?
Yeah, I mean, we, you know, having this caution here, when we fire them up, they're going to be cooler than they've been, plus the caution lap. So, you know, I don't know how many laps we're going to have here when we restart, but it looks like we'll probably be a green-white checkered and shouldn't be a problem on the heating issue.
All right, Tony, thanks again for talking with us and giving us such great insight into what's going on out there today, and good luck in these last few laps.
Thank you, guys.
Tony Stewart, winner of this race 4 of the last 5 years, and racing for the lead in turn 4 on the final lap a year ago when he was involved in a wreck. Tony sitting there second place under the red flag as they clean up the racetrack and get ready. There are 4 laps to go in the race now. It's probably going to come down to about a 2-lap shootout for the checkered flag and trophy in this thing, Nicole.
Yep, we were sitting down here in the pit studio talking about the intensity that will ratchet up in those final laps, but also how impressed we are with not only the Matt Kenseth save, but a few of the young guys in this race today.
Yeah, more than a few. We've seen Travis Pastrana and Kyle Larson, Parker Klingerman, you know, Nelson Piquet, all guys up front. We talked about how the veterans were going to have a little bit of an advantage because of their experience, and it's the young guys that are not only up front, but most of them missed that crash.
Yeah, truly talented group. And then and also, like I say, Eric McClure. He's a veteran of the series, but he has been up front, has a strong race car. I am blown away by Travis Pastrana. He has done an outstanding job with that race car.
As long as we're under the red flag, let's go back and take a look at how we've gotten to at least this point. We started, of course, talking about Danica Patrick. She started 12th, but had an issue and has been out of the race since lap 32.
Yeah, she's had an engine issue and she's out of the race. But before that, she ran great. She led some laps. She drafted with the veterans. She looked perfect out there, guys. She really did.
Ignition box issue for Danica Patrick. Of course, she'll start on pole for the Daytona 500 tomorrow. Kurt Busch involved in one of the earlier incidents. A couple cars in this one.
Yeah, Kurt obviously got his car torn up pretty bad. We thought he may come back just like he did last year and possibly win the race again, but torn up too bad. Had to quit.
Championship implications here. Trevor Bayne started on pole, was running 4th. And then this happened.
Had a great race, but big drivetrain issue. Don't know if it was a transmission or rear end or both. But, you know, championship implications there. This is not a chase situation. All these points count all year. That was a big hit.
Take care of your engine. That's been the big thing all day. Kyle Busch wasn't able to. He is out.
Kyle Busch got that car way too hot. Couldn't get out of the draft to cool it down. It was a big explosion. But talk about a big explosion. Look at the big one. Finally happened. We knew it was going to happen. Austin Dillon gets clobbered up there. Pastrana gets through, no damage. But look at Michael Annett in the 43. He gets clobbered. And Austin gets hit again. Casey Kane, everybody's involved in this.
Yeah, also took out Joanna Long. You see Austin Dillon here. He takes a pretty violent lick to the right side. Then all of a sudden, Jeffrey Earnhardt comes up and tags him at the door as they're slowing down. Right there, bam, big hit. But yeah, Joanna Long got torn up and was having a great run. So took out some good race cars, but we expected it.
Joanna Long, Jamie Dick, the driver of the 55, both have been released from the infield care center. As we mentioned earlier, you know, 116 complete here. When we go green again, it's going to be about 2 laps. You've been in this position before. What do you do?
Nicole, it's all about getting a good drafting partner. The intensity level's really building right now. These drivers are nervous. They're fired up in that car. And it's all for their self right now. They got to have somebody to help them win the race, but they want to win it bad. I do think we're going to see another big wreck before this thing is over. But I'm telling you what, everybody's heart is pounding right now. In this position, I've been in it many times. I can tell you mine was, and I was talking to my crew chief, I was talking to my spotter, hook me up with somebody good. We got to get to the front.
It seems like I can get a pretty good run, so I bet you it doesn't come down to the last corner down here, turn 3, before someone makes their move to win this race.
Getting the right partner and getting that timing, because if they cross the white flag and then wreck, the race is over. So you got to get to the front quick.
I do not envy AB's job right now, because I don't know about anyone else, but I was watching those last few laps with my hands over my eyes, my heart pounding as well.
Well, Nicole, we've been practicing for that photo finish up here throughout the race today at Daytona. 20 different drivers have traded the lead 33 times. And let's expand further on tactics that we might see in these final couple laps. I'll make 2 statements, and I want you guys to react and give me your insights. First of all, with a limited number of laps, once the white flag waves, if the crash happens and a caution comes out, the race is over. So how late do you wait to make that move? And the other thing is the drafting tactics, that side draft that we talked about on NASCAR Countdown, of trying to separate the guys that are trying to tandem draft past you and make them slow down. What are we going to see here?
Well, I think you're right, Alan, about not really knowing when the race will end. I think if it wasn't a threat of that happening, and we saw it happen last night in the truck race too, when the white flag came out, big crash, the race is over. I think if it wasn't for that threat, you'd see these drivers waiting a little longer. But I think with that out there, you've got to make that move probably coming to the white flag.
Yeah, I think you have to go on and make that because of that, you know, and the scenario is there to where, you know, coming off a turn 2 or down the back straightaway, that NASCAR could deem that those drivers are, if they happen to wreck back there, they could race back around to the checkered flag, but you don't know that, so you can't wait in that scenario. The other side of it is we're going to see a lot of side drafting here to separate them, and that's what creates the problems and the contact.
So while we wait for the cleanup to be finished and the race to be resumed and finished, we don't know exactly when on either count, when the race is going to end, like we were just talking. Let's look ahead. As we're just beginning the NASCAR Nationwide Series, got some great races and some great tracks coming up to start this campaign. Out to Phoenix in the Valley of the Sun next weekend, and Las Vegas the week after that, the short track in Bristol, and then Southern California.
Yeah, just a mix of different tracks, and it really starts to show there as we get through Phoenix, Vegas, Bristol, and then California, just how much, who's really going to be on top of the game there, because those are really different type of tracks, and kind of gives us an insight as to who's going to be battling for that championship.
Yeah, and then not too much long after that, we're back at Talladega and more of this, the racing we've seen today.
So the red flag has just been withdrawn. The yellow flag is back out here at Daytona. And we get set for what is going to be a wild, mad scramble to the checkered flag in this race. So you see the field of contenders, all with visions of what a Daytona win would mean on their mind as we get set for the final few laps. Those of you looking for college basketball, North Carolina and North Carolina State. The race running a touch long. That game starting on ESPN News right now. And then at the conclusion of NASCAR action, after we wrap things up here, you'll get word to rejoin us here on ESPN. So if you're looking for State and Carolina, jump on over to ESPN News right now. Personally, I would highly advise you not to go anywhere, because this is going to be something else as we settle out the end of this race here at Daytona. Pit road going to be open for lead lap cars. Don't know that we'll get many takers here, but I guess you never know. We'll keep an eye on that and check in with Doc.
Well, when the day began, Alan, Sam Hornish told us that a year ago he had a chance to win 6 races but could not get over the hump in the final laps. That's why they made wholesale changes here. New crew chief, new car chief, and now Greg Irwin. The deal this year is to be able to close it in the final laps. How does Sam Hornish close it and get to victory lane?
Well, we've done a really good job today working with a new spotter for Sam. This is his first race together, keeping him out of trouble. It got real hairy there in the middle, but the biggest thing is just getting paired up with the right guys. It's going to be interesting here with just a couple laps to go. Everyone's going to be able to tuck in and more than likely not worry about the water temperature. So hopefully we get this Alliance Truck Parts Ford Mustang to victory lane.
Do you find your teammate Brad Kay or go with whoever?
Well, right now, the way it's going to shake out, you can kind of see who's going to wind up pushing who at the start. It's going to be whoever can get out in front, maybe make a hole on the bottom. There's going to be some guys that like the bottom, some guys that like the top. We're just going to have to wait and see. I don't really know.
All right, we're going to find out. Alan?
Interesting call here. Joe Gibbs Racing Cars on pit road as the field gets the one to go. Kenseth, Vickers, Elliott Sadler. Vickers not on the lead lap, 2 laps down, but Sadler and Kenseth maybe setting themselves up here to try and draft through. They're only going to have 2 laps to do it, though.
It looked like Elliott Sadler didn't have a choice. He had a tire rub on the right front that they had to address. And he's probably lucky that he's got his teammates that made a pit stop also that he'll have back there to draft with.
Fascinating.
Yeah, he had some contact in there, and I think that's probably a championship move right there more than anything else, that they're thinking, you know, the big picture of this and making sure that they don't have an issue, get as many points as they can here today, knowing that a lot of those people they're going to be battling have had some issues.
Yeah, they're just not going to throw any points away by going out there with a tire rub on the right front or something and then coming back with a terrible finish.
And they're only going to restart about 17th and 18th in line because of all the cars that were taken out of the wreck a minute ago. So here we go. Coming to a green flag restart. That'll be with 2 laps to go in the scheduled distance of this race. It's going to be Regan Smith choosing the inside lane with Tony Stewart to his outside. Brad Keselowski behind Smith. Sam Hornish behind Stewart. Remember, Keselowski and Hornish are teammates. Will they find a way to get nose to tail and draft? What will Stewart do? And behind them, Allgaier, Bowman, Pastrana, and by the way, Trevor Bayne is back on the racetrack in that 6-car many laps down. Will he be the one that gets up there and drafts with Pastrana and changes his outcome around? 2 laps to go.
Green, green, green.
Any time right here now to worry about teammates. It's just a matter of who you can get with, get yourself in a position to win the race now.
Yeah, all you see there was the speedy drive they put down for the crash.
99, Alex Bowman. 77, Parker Kligerman. 2 of the young drivers. Bowman only 19 years old, racing for the win, coming to the white flag.
How about Kyle Larson with Dale Jr. on his bumper? That might give him an opportunity.
32 and 88. Stewart to the lead with Hornish's help. Can Hornish stay tucked behind him for 1 more lap? White flag in the air at Daytona. Regan Smith to the outside. Keselowski pushing him.
That's where that side draft comes into play. You can see Sam Hornish coming off the bumper of Stewart.
Up through the center. Bowman pushed by Kligerman. Somehow they got out of it and saved him. Hornish now back behind Stewart. Up to the outside. 2 is Brian Scott.
See, Tony Stewart just bulled his way through there to get an opportunity, and he's going to have it too.
Final corner at Daytona. Who's going to get here first? Regan Smith 7, Keselowski 22. For a 5th time in 6 years. And Dave, I'm sure that the celebration for Stewart will probably be a little bit muted.
Well, it's not confusing down here, Alan, right now, although normally we get to just jump out and celebrate. Smoke, go ahead and climb out of the race car right now. His team is here. They've got the Gatorade in their hands as usual, but Tony, sensitive to what he's seen out here, is going to hear from his crew probably, but we're just going to tone it down a little bit right now because we don't have a lot of information for sure yet, Tony. We know you don't either. Do know that you won this race again, somehow getting your way through that traffic to victory lane.
Yeah, but the important thing is what's going on the front stretch right now. It's we've always known, and since racing was started, this is a dangerous sport. But it's hard when we assume that risk, and it's hard when the fans get caught up in it. So as much as we want to celebrate right now, and as much as this is a big deal to us, I'm more worried about the drivers and the fans that are in the stands right now because that was. I could see it all in the mirror, and it didn't look good from where I was at either.
Tony, how tricky is this racing from a standpoint of wanting to put on a show but also wanting to be safe?
Well, the hard part is you just can't get away from everybody. And, when you get a green-white checkered like that, even if a hole's closing up, the guy behind you isn't going to check up and you're not going to check up. You've got to take that chance. And, it's like if we could have, you want to put on good races, but not at the risk of the drivers and the fans like this. So, it's a hard thing for NASCAR. There's no easy solution, and there has been. I mean, NASCAR's an extremely smart group, and they know they're doing everything they can to keep this from happening, and that's the main thing. And we're just thinking about the guys in the front stretch right now more than what we're doing.
Well said. Congratulations to you and your team. We'll keep everyone posted. That's another W for Tony Stewart. A little bit of interesting circumstances here today, AB.
Dave, thanks. And Stewart said it all and said it well. Racing is a dangerous sport, but you certainly want that to be contained on the competitor side of the fence and not the spectator. Today we're keeping tabs on the situation, awaiting any word from NASCAR or Speedway officials after the chaos in the closing laps at Daytona that resulted in that.
At GoDaddy, we love to help small businesses.
Think of us as your
ESPN Live at Daytona International Speedway for the NASCAR Nationwide Series season opener, a race that has been won by Tony Stewart, and a race whose finish has been marred by an accident coming to the checkered flag that forced the car of Kyle Larson up into the safety fencing, separating the grandstand from the racetrack. Pieces of that car piercing that fencing and winding up on the grandstand side of the racetrack. And while the photos go on in victory lane and Stewart takes care of his obligations, the work continues by safety officials, and we await any word from NASCAR or Speedway officials on the situation. Dr. Jerry Punch.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., the first driver to come out of the infield care center. First of all, Junior, are you okay?
Yeah, I feel good. We had a pretty good car all day, and just right there at the end, trying to get the best finish we could. And I thought we was going to get to the end without tearing anything up, but I saw I think it was the 7 car spinning across to the right and off the wall, and he caught the right front of my car, and I couldn't steer after that, and I was just trying to get across the finish line, and somebody turned across the racetrack in front of us. It was pretty hard.
Your car was the 7 car. Regan Smith, you were in the care center. Regan, a lot of the guys getting out and able to be checked out inside?
I haven't seen anybody in there. I think everybody's in good spirits. More worried about the people in the grandstands, I guess. I get some debris went up there, and just worried about everybody up there.
Okay, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's okay. They're still checking out some drivers. Jamie?
Brian Scott involved as well. He has been checked and released. You still finished 6th. What exactly did you see, Brian?
I saw the 7 car sideways in the tri-oval up against the wall, and we were right up against the wall. And I didn't know if we were going to make it or not, and I just held it wide open. I hit him hard, and then it was just like a pinball effect. And, I saw that the fence and part of the grandstands is hurt or is damaged, so I hope all the fans are okay first and foremost. We finished at least. We wrecked. I hate that. I hate that we had a tore-up car. Everybody at Richard Childress Racing did a great job preparing a Shore Lodge Chevy Camaro that is really fast, and we had a chance to win this race. Obviously, our teammate did, Tony Stewart, so congrats to those guys. And I guess we'll just prepare it and get ready for Talladega.
Thanks, Brian. I'm glad you're okay. Vince?
Damage on Parker Kligerman's car. The good news is Parker came through okay, ended up 5th, but what did you see as you came through that melee?
Well, first off, I want to thank the 32 for getting us up there in the front and leading for a while, and he did a great job. And first and foremost, I hope he's all right as much as I hope the fans are all right. That's scary to see that anytime anything goes through the fence, and I know NASCAR does their best job, and the tracks do their best job to, stop the melee, but we can't stop the unpredictable. So with that said, this Bandit Chippers Toyota Camry was awesome. My Bell helmets, Butler-built seats, Bolle sunglasses, Under Armour, all those people that help us get to the racetrack week in, week out. Can't thank them enough. But this Nationwide Insurance Series, it's crazy. It's out of control. It's so many good drivers, so many good teams at the front right there coming to the end of a race, and you go and there's suddenly 20 good cars all trying to go for one spot. And when that all started to happen, the 99 I had gotten disconnected down the backstretch. I could have pulled in front of 33, and I didn't, and I hate myself for it. But maybe that stopped us from getting more melee. But I saw a bunch of smoke, put the foot to the floor, knew there was a checkered flag, and drove straight to it.
Thanks, Parker. Doc?
Well, Regan Smith was leading that charge off of turn 4, a quarter of a mile from the checkered flag. The next thing we know, we saw your 7 car sideways. What happened?
I tried to throw a block coming off 4. I knew Brad was going to make a move, and it's Daytona. You want to go for the win here. That's what we're all here for. I had a really fast Junior Motorsports Chevy, clean cool on the car this week, so really appreciate those guys. Hope everybody in the stands is okay. I know I saw there was some damage up there, so that's kind of the first concern of everybody in the care center there was what was going on over there. We got a strong race team. The car was fast all day. We got it in position to win, and you got to do what you got to do. You got to go for it. Brad's a good friend, and he pushed me to the front, and we were both wanting to win the race. That's all.
So did you know that Brad was going to try to make a move as far as the block is concerned? You were going to go high, and he went high. Were you going to make another move to try to stay in front of him?
Well, if I had to, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's you're coming to the checkered at Daytona. This is it doesn't matter if it's a nationwide race or a ARCA race. You want to win here, and certainly want to do the same thing tomorrow. And if I'm in the same position tomorrow, I'll do the exact same thing again. I don't know how you can play it any different other than to just concede to second place, and I wasn't willing to do that today. So, it's a case where these guys work really hard on these race cars all year long, and our job is to put them in a position to win, and it was, and it didn't work out.
Regan, we admire your honesty, but more importantly, we appreciate that you're okay.
Cool. Thanks, sir.
Thoughts of Regan Smith involved at the point the accident began, and you heard him say that he threw a block on Brad Keselowski, trying to win at Daytona. And with the pack steaming down behind them, the end result was the terrible crash that has resulted. Unfortunately, we saw Kyle Larson climb from his car after that crash when his car was just torn apart. And let's check with Doc.
Well, here's the best part of the day. This is the best news of the day, particularly someone like me that's been a trauma and ER doctor most of my life. Kyle, glad to see you're okay. You look good. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel good. Just not sure where everything ended up on the racetrack. I hope all the fans are okay and all the drivers all right. I know I took a couple big hits there and saw my engine was gone. So just hope everybody's all right. And just disappointed. It looks like they got me 13th on the board, and we had a lot better car than that. We were charging the front a lot of the time, and actually got to lead a couple laps too, and draft with Junior and Keselowski and guys like that. So it was a lot of fun today, and just want to thank all my sponsors, Clorox, all the Turner sponsors, Turner Scott sponsors. I really want to thank Butler Built for building really safe seats and our eye helmets and the hybrid safety solutions device. There's been a lot of great changes in safety, so I just want to thank everybody.
Take us through what you remember inside the car. I mean, you get hit from behind, we see the car getting up and then in the fence. What were you thinking? What were you feeling at the time?
Well, I was getting pushed from behind, I felt like, and by the time my spotter said, lift or go low, I think he said it was too late, and I was in the wreck, and then, felt like it was slowing down, and then looked like I could see the ground or something like that, and then, had some flames come in the cockpit, but, luckily I was all right and could get out of the car quick.
Certainly glad he is okay. The car is sheared in half, but he is able to walk away. What amazing, Alan, amazing.
Yeah, Doc, there was nothing left firewall forward on that car, and Kyle Larson fortunately okay. And again, we continue to focus our attention on the spectator side of the catch fence, where parts of Kyle Larson's front end, including the engine, were sheared off and came to rest. There are medical personnel there. We have seen some fans being treated by the medical personnel. We'll wait for word from Speedway and NASCAR officials on the severity of the situation, and I'm sure that they will get that word to us as soon as the situation is under control. Just a difficult moment and a difficult situation. that unfolded as the field steamed to the checkered flag and began with that block Regan Smith said was thrown on Brad Keselowski as they were racing for the win.
Yeah, and as a driver, you know when you're in that situation that if you go to make a block or try to slow someone's progress from behind, that especially as you're coming to the checkered flag, that the opportunity is there that you may get hit and turn. So, but you're willing to take that chance, as Regan Smith stated.
Show you what happened in this situation as the field came to the checkered flag. Watch the white 32 car. And again, Kyle Larson did climb from that machine. You heard from him a minute ago. And there you see the result of that crash. And we'll wait for word from, again, Speedway and NASCAR officials on the situation on the grandstand side of that fence, and keep our fingers crossed that everything's okay. The race is over at Daytona. Tony Stewart has won it, but we continue to monitor live the situation after that terrible crash coming to the checkered flag.
That's me last year.
Back live, Daytona International Speedway after the conclusion of today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race, won by Tony Stewart. But coming to the checkered flag, a terrible crash with Kyle Larson's car getting up into the catch fencing. Kyle climbed from the machine okay, but parts of his race car went through that catch fencing into the grandstand, and safety officials are working on the scene there. We'll bring you any update as soon as we can possibly get one from NASCAR and from Speedway officials. Let's check downstairs with more of the participants in the finish of this race, and Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Justin Allgaier has come out of the medical center and appears to be okay. Justin, we were just watched a moment ago. What was your part? Where were you in that mess there on the final lap?
Yeah, we were on the outside in behind Brian Scott and just trying to push as far as we could to get the best finish we could. And you know, they started wrecking in front of us, and unfortunately at that point it's too late. You know, you're running so fast. You know, obviously I'm all right, and pretty much all the other drivers that I've talked to here everything's been good. You know, thoughts and prayers go out to anybody in the grandstands that may have gotten hit by anything. I'll tell you, it's a violent wreck. I mean, just seeing the carnage on the racetrack, it's really unbelievable. But you know, a true shout out to all the safety companies that put products in these cars, and NASCAR for making these cars safer. You know, our Brandt Chevy was really good. Scott Zipadelli and the guys did a good job. I made a mistake on pit road earlier and got in some oil and spun into the wall, and they fixed it all back up, and we were able to go out there and get a good finish out of it. But definitely tough when you finish that way. You know, you look at all the people and you hope everybody's all right.
Glad that Justin Allgaier is okay as he walks away. We heard a little bit ago from Regan Smith, who said he was trying to block. He doesn't blame Brad Keselowski for what he did, but he was trying to block. And now let's hear from Brad with Jamie.
And Brad Keselowski has checked out okay. Your good news is you're fine, but you watched the replay. I saw you take a deep sigh. What did you see? What was your reaction looking at that?
Well, I mean, watching a replay, my reaction I think is probably the same as everyone in the garage, and that is hoping everyone in the grandstand is okay. That's really important for us as a sport. So, you know, that's the first thing I want to say. But, you know, it was a long race. I think we saw a lot of action, a lot of chances for, you know, winning and passing and everything you can see. And we were in a really good position there with Regan at the end of the race, and we'd worked really well together. And when it came down to it, I felt like I was in the spot to win it, and wanted to make the winning move. And you know, obviously he threw a block on it. And, you know, he felt like that's what he had to do, and you know, that's his right. And it just, the chaos comes with it. I made the move, and then he blocked it, and the two of that together started the chain of events that caused that wreck. But you know, just probably first and foremost, just want to make sure anyone in the stands is okay, and be thinking about them.
Brad, you have the Daytona 500 tomorrow, the biggest race for you guys. How do you take something this serious, and compartmentalize and get your head focused for that race?
Well, I mean, I think until we know exactly how the status is of everyone that was, you know, involved, it's hard to really put a lot of thought into the 500. But hopefully we'll know soon, and hopefully everyone's okay. And if that's the case, we'll get to focusing on Sunday.
All right, thanks, Brad. Let's go over to Doc.
19-year-old rookie Alex Bowman was having just a phenomenal performance today until that final lap, and we'll talk about your performance in a minute, but talk about what happened to you on that final lap.
just running 5th or 6th or so, and just kind of saw everybody wrecking in front of me, got shoved down, and started spinning through the grass and took a hard right and to get it in the fence. But just hope all the fans are all right. Got my thoughts and prayers with the fans and their family members, but got to thank everybody at AB Racing. They gave me a great race car. It was awesome to have Florida Lottery and Windows 8 on our number 99 Toyota Camry, and just ready to get to Phoenix.
All right, Alex Bowman had a great effort down here, getting able to push Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski to the lead, his first ever nationwide race, and certainly hoping that in the future they finish a little bit differently than today. Alan?
All right, Doc, thanks. And as we look on at this scene at Daytona International Speedway, I am reminded by Bill France Jr., the longtime NASCAR chairman and the Speedway president, who said that when you sign on to be a competitor in the race, you sign on to assume the risk. And the measures that are taken to try and keep things out of the grandstand are so extreme and so great that it's surprising when this happens, but I guess maybe it shouldn't be shocking.
No, you know, sometimes we forget just as many advancements have been made in the sport for safety. You know, those same things have gone into the racetracks. And, you know, the fans come here to be participants in the way that they want to watch a great performance happen. They don't need to be a part of it. And all the safety measures have been taken. The drivers have all talked about the safety initiatives with the race cars, with all of their equipment and everything, and I applaud them for that, because, you know, there were some very amazing hits there, and all of these drivers were able to talk about it. But obviously, our concern, as the driver stated, are for the fans, and you know, there's only so much you do. These machines are going at somewhere close to 200 miles per hour, and it's very rare that we see something of this magnitude, but it does happen.
Yeah, that's the key thing. It is extremely rare that we see something like this, and I think that NASCAR and all the tracks do a great job, and it looked like most of that car was contained just right at the fence. I didn't see any of the big parts that made it much past that, so I think it did a good job, but so unfortunately you just can't do a perfect job all the time, and it's unfortunate to see that some of the fans may have gotten hurt.
And we continue to monitor the situation. There are safety workers by the dozens in that area attending to those who may have been injured, and we will continue to follow that for some time. With respect to that situation, and as we continue to monitor it in an absence of any further information at this moment, I just turn my attention back to the race for just a second. It was, until that moment, a spectacular show.
It was just unbelievable what we saw all day long from these drivers, from veteran drivers to those rookies that we talked about that had very little experience racing here. What a phenomenal job. I think it's the best that I've seen, even with drivers that we've seen before be here with equipment that maybe wasn't up to par, but they took it to the front, you know, and it's just amazing to watch what was happening there. The most leaders that we've seen, and just incredible racing.
And still, to me, what's most incredible is Tony Stewart, how he keeps doing this. He finds his way. He was, 21st on that one of the last restarts late in the race. He was talking about time to go. We knew he was going to get there, but just didn't know how he was going to do it. It's just amazing that he was able to bring the car to the front. It was going to be a great finish if we hadn't had that mishap right there at the finish.
A tremendous race all afternoon at Daytona. Unfortunately, though, our attention focused on the incident coming to the checkered flag that saw parts of Kyle Larson's car pierce the catch fencing and end up on the grandstand side of the racetrack. We await and stay on the air to bring you any word we might get from Speedway or NASCAR officials as soon as possible. We'll take a break and come back to Daytona in a moment. Back live, Daytona International Speedway after today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. The incident coming to the checkered flag that resulted in parts of Kyle Larson's car piercing the catch fencing, winding up on the grandstand side of the racetrack. You see all the safety vehicles and safety workers that are there managing the situation. We await word from NASCAR and or Speedway officials, but obviously at the moment a very fluid situation, and their attention rightly focused on treating those who may need treatment and getting a grip on the situation. And we will hear from them as soon as possible and let you know what we know as quickly as we can. Difficult end to what had been a tremendous race, with drivers trading the lead 34 different times, 20 different drivers leading the race. Tony Stewart finding some way to draft through at the end and win this race again, but all of that overshadowed by this scene when that 32 car was forced up into the air and into that fencing, which somehow grabbed a hold of a piece of that car, and as it sheared off, brought it through the safety cabling, the safety fencing, and all that's there,
We'll bring up one thing. We saw Tony Stewart go below the yellow line as that wreck was happening in front of him. And he did get the win. They didn't penalize him, and he was just avoiding that accident. That's why they didn't.
So Tony continuing the obligations that go with winning the race. Though speaking very eloquently in victory lane, Tony, of course, not just a racer, but a track operator as well, and a race fan. And sees all sides of this, and all concerned at the moment, focused on the grandstand side of the situation and hoping that all are okay. And we hope to get word from NASCAR and Speedway officials what they can give us as soon as possible on what's going on the racetrack now. Matter of fact, NASCAR President Mike Helton has just stepped into the booth and joined us here. And Mike, I know it's a very fluid situation and it's still ongoing, but we would sure like to know anything you can tell us at the moment.
Well, I think you've been able to see and explain what we know right now is that there obviously was some intrusion into the fence, and fortunately with the way the event's equipped up, there was plenty of emergency workers ready to go, and they all jumped in on it pretty quickly. And right now it's just a function of trying to determine what all damage is done. They're moving folks, as we've seen, to care centers and taking some folks over to Halifax Medical. So we'll be able to update later on. But right now, all we know is everybody's working real hard on determining what all happened.
Mike, we know that NASCAR and the tracks do everything they possibly can to make these events safe for the fans. But you just can't predict something like this. I mean, I don't want to use a perfect storm, but imperfect storm,
yeah.
Something, all that it takes to make something like that happen. But really, Catch Fence did its job for the most part there.
It did, and you're right. I mean, we know a lot, and we know what we know. But the biggest thing we know is we don't know everything we need to know, because there are moments that occur that we've just never seen before and can't really plan for, although everybody's effort is directed that way to make it as safe as possible for both competitors and for the fans. And that's evidenced everywhere we go with the wheel fences and the cables and the structures and the gaps between the racetrack and the seating area. But we're always aware of the fact that we don't know everything.
And obviously work to be done tonight. There is a race tomorrow, though that's not utmost on your attention at this moment.
Well, there's still victory lane celebrations. There's still inspections to do on race cars, but there is a lot more activity. And fortunately, Daytona International Speedway and all the emergency crews here are prepared and ready for that, and they're very busy right now, and our prayers and thoughts are with everybody they're working on.
Mike, thank you for your time.
Okay.
We appreciate it. NASCAR President Mike Helton joining us here at Daytona. After the end of today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race, and again, a very fluid situation, the focus, as it should be, on the safety effort going on the grandstand side of the fence. After Kyle Larson's car was forced up into the grandstand, and pieces of that car pierced the fencing and ended up on the spectator side of the fence. At this moment, lacking any further information, we are going to leave the air live from here at Daytona and go to our regularly scheduled program. We ask you and invite you for further updates on the situation. Stay tuned to the ESPN family of networks, and we will continue to stay here and monitor the scene and bring you any updates and any further information from Speedway or NASCAR officials as soon as it's possible. So the situation at Daytona today, Tony Stewart has won, but the end of the event marred by a very serious crash.